I'm a food addict, compulsive eater, and I am abstinent today because I measure my 3 meals from the gray sheet, write them down, commit them to my sponsor, and in between I don't eat no matter what. And I'm abstinent since 4th of June 2004, and I'm maintaining a weight loss of around 66 or 70 pounds, sort of, And yes, this is my first time here in LA, actually my first morning here in LA. We just drove from Oceanside near San Diego here, and I'm actually going home in a few hours from LA airport, so this is my really only opportunity to be here with you all, and it just, I'm kind of, wow. So yeah, let me start how I actually found about gray sheet. I mean, I started overeating and using fruits since I was around 9 or 10 years old, and of course this continued through the years, and with eating more and more food, including stealing foods from home, lying about food, gaining weight, lying about how much I weigh, lying about that I'm on a diet, gaining more weight, food becoming more and more obsession in my head, bringing home bags of food from the store, hiding them. I ate mostly hidden. I was desperate when my parents found the food or the wraps or everything hidden in my room, and I always promised I won't do this anymore, but what I learned is just how to better hide these things. When I was around 15, I tried to lose weight, and then weight came back. I didn't actually know why I need to eat all the time, or why when I read I need to eat or whatever. So just but when the years gone, I started to read more and more books about it, and even when I realized I am compulsive overeater, I read books in English and in German. We didn't have so much of this literature in Slovenia. Yeah, I come from Slovenia. This is in Europe, former part of Yugoslavia. So, and we didn't have anything about it. But even when I was able to realize that, oh yeah, I'm food addict, I cannot stop. I mean, even knowing this, I couldn't stop either. I said, yeah, I will do it tomorrow. Tomorrow came. Or ate really badly. I was nauseous, took lots of pills so I wouldn't feel nauseous. I had really, since childhood, I had creeping fear of throwing up. This was probably a good thing. So, and I promised I won't eat, and then the next day I picked up whatever was left in the trash from food and eat it. So just an ongoing thing. And I did find OA on the website sometime, and I saw something about 12 steps and God and everything, and I thought, oh wow, I don't want to go there. I wasn't raised, we weren't raised in this kind of spirit in Yugoslavia. So, but then after a while I said, okay, I can just go try. I was desperate, so I went there. This was OA was in Slovenia. It was really small, but I went there a few years. I did everything, steps, ups and downs. Did service, lots of service. I was involved in a English-speaking intergroup at that time, and but it worked for a little bit. Then I just started back overeating, started gaining weight, and through all this came more and more shame and guilt, because actually I was, in a way, I was like a long timer in a way, but and doing all kind of service, and I was fat, so just and so I searched solutions, and on the internet I found Gray Sheet and read a little bit about it and said, oh, these people are so crazy. And but I got crazier and crazier, and I think the shame also kind of brought me into desperation. I was just so obsessed in my head. I couldn't stop thinking about food. I couldn't stop eating. That time I started to practice. I started some spiritual practices before, and pray to the universal, and I started to practice one kind of Buddhism. So I prayed and chanted, and just to be, to find something that will work. So one night was so desperate that after overeating, we didn't have Gray Sheet in our country. We didn't know anything about Gray Sheet. Actually, I didn't know much about it. But I found there was a contact in Germany listed on the Gray Sheet page. So I called that person one evening, or I emailed her before, and she said, she wrote, we do what we do, we weigh a measure. Are you willing to do this? I mean, oh yeah, cool. Yeah, so I called her, and she was helping me to put food together for the next day. I didn't have a clue what Gray Sheet is about. Not much. I didn't know about much, and she actually didn't know something about fat in grams or those kind of things or whatever. So she said she will call me back, and she called me back from Germany. It's like, wow. I mean, I wasn't used to this kind of kindness. We put this plan together for the next day, and she said, now you have given me this food, and you don't eat no matter what, and we will hear each other next day, and this was then the start. This was the next day was 4th of June 2004, and I'm in abstinence since the day, and it was a struggle from the first day on. I literally needed to bite stones, I said, and I think my week started with 3 night shifts at work, because I was working at the hospital at this time in all 3 shifts. I think I used all the pink clouds before, in a way, so because they didn't come with me to Gray Sheet, no. So it just, but somehow somewhere I kind of knew this is the last thing, and I kind of knew if I screw this one, then it's nothing else left. So it was really, really desperation. There is nothing else. So this black hole that you can get sucked in. So I just did it. I did what this person in Germany wasn't able to sponsor me, so she recommended GrayNet. This was the Yahoo group, which was very active at that time. That was before the Facebook. So I found a sponsor there. She was from far away. She was American, but she lived in Taiwan at that time. So she sponsored me via email. And she gave me some contacts from Europe at that time, from UK, from Germany. So I started to make contacts, phone calls, text messaging. There were 2 people at that time in Germany, 1 person in Belgium, and there were some more people in UK. But this was everything really far away. I did use email that time, but the phones were a problem. We didn't know about Skype. There was no Skype, and we did have some phone cards, but when you called, you just 1 minute and everything went away. You weren't able. So, and my sponsor said, you should call the phone meetings. And I said, okay. I mean, I was so afraid that if I do anything wrong with the food, or anything wrong with what she does, that she will just fire me. And I because I didn't know anything about Gray Sheet. First, I thought it's a part of OA, but because I didn't know in Greece that like people sleep or relapse or something, I just thought this is it, now you're stuck for life, So I think this was maybe a good thing because I was so scared they will just fire me and then I'm, so I did try everything what she said, and I did try to phone the meetings, and usually after 10 minutes I got dropped off from, because my phone card and everything. So, but the technique improved with the time, which is good, and so I stayed in Gracie. There was I was active on a GreyNet, and also after a year and a half changed my job, because in this year and a half also finished my studies. I worked 11 years in a hospital, in a children's hospital, but then after a year and a half, being abstinent in all 3 shifts, in 12, in place where you couldn't go anywhere to eat. You just needed to eat, like we had this small kitchen which was used and to get food to the kids, or in the sister room, so nurses room. So it was just kind of I did it. I don't know how I did it. It's like I did it, and I studied. So there was no bedroom slippers for me. Sorry, but just and after a year of my abstinence, I did still went to OA from time to time and shared the mantra, and so that the person from OA called me after a year, so I got my sponsee. And this is what mostly then some few people came from OA or their friends, so the group was formed in Slovenia, and so now we have regular meetings. We are not a big group because we also we have 2 million people in Slovenia, so if we all came to Los Angeles you wouldn't even notice. So we're small group, but we have meetings usually twice a month, face to face, and we have phone our half an hour each Sunday phone meeting, we are active in European Intergroup. When I was like 6 months, when I had 6 months of abstinence, I went to UK, where they had a Bournemouth roundup at this time, and this was my first face-to-face meeting. Yes, and I did cry. Yeah, and everything was so overwhelming, and it was like 3 hours drive. Or I don't know. I remember 3 hours drive from the airport in the night and everything. And I was there among other grey sheeters. They were all very nice. So then I started to go to also each year to mostly years to London Roundup and build some contacts to the people in the UK, and there was one person in Belgium, and with time, and I started to serve first on a group level, but then I attended European intergroup meetings, and then I became a chair of the intergroup as well, and then later after a while I became also a delegate for the first conference, and I was actively participating in organizing all 3 conferences. So I was in World Service conferences, and so just this amount of service just increased, not even me wanting, it's just like kind of, I was pushed some by my sponsor, and some was it like because you were in the middle of it, you just kept working and there was not enough people to do the work, so you just did some more, and I ended up attending all 3 conferences, which is really great. I mean, the first one was a great experience with so many people from all around, US and Iceland and UK, and I mean there was so much fear at that time that we were going to change the Great Plain or something, that we were going to do something really, really bad. but I felt really relief and hope how this first conference, I remember the first one the best, the most, and relief of all the people that, things were set up and we didn't change the great shit. we didn't do those kind of things. So I continued, and I served on a board for, I was a vice chair, I think either was 2 and 4 years. It's sure, working on the board is really an experience for itself. I don't recommend it to people who don't have enough abstinence. Because it's a challenge, because you go from, we are here in a meeting, it's different in a way, but you go to the business kind of thing, so, and, personalities and everything, so somebody said that these levels of service is kind of a training field for all your resentments and fears and everything. So it just, everything came out. I'm not on the board anymore. But I just have, few more minutes.
Yes, 3 more minutes.
Yes. I went through lots of changes in these 14 and a half of years. I did change jobs. I'm all the time also in the therapy. Some years took medications for my additional depression and anxiety, and then I didn't some years, and then I began again because it was and I began I see the world differently. I am now different relationship with nature, with animals, with plants. I do some creative work. I do small polymer clay figures. I brought some, so if anybody wants some, I can give it. And now I started to do some mosaics as well. I just when the food is down and the life gets a little bit in order, there is so much more time that needs to be filled with anything apart, but food. So, and what really helped me, so for the people who are beginning or struggling, I always say this, what really helped me from the beginning on is just the power of no matter what. No matter what, that we all here kind of do, I don't eat no matter what, from this meal to this meal. It's just this, no matter what, I really hang on this. It was like mantra in my head. I don't eat no matter what. And often I did, when I was at work, I did messaging with the person from, this text message just with the person from Belgium. I saw some things on the table that we don't eat, in hospital. This is always some kind of food somewhere, and I didn't have I want to jump it, but I just was like, okay, I don't eat no matter, and I was just texting, this is here, and I don't eat no matter, or just in before something would come that I would come near, or playing in my head, should I or shouldn't. If I'm playing in my head, should or should not, it's too late. So before building this kind of, and no matter has really huge power, because with every day that I'm abstinent, with day and day more, I want to keep it, just it's so much to lose. And I what also helped me, it's that I remain having the fear of where I don't want to go back, because I don't want to go back in this food, despair where I wasn't able to stop eating. And the fear that if I relapse, or that if I go out, I won't be able to start again. This is always a possibility. So these fears, I kind of say they're good fears for me, just so this is what helps me. And I don't eat no matter what. And thank you all for being here.